I'm not gonna lie, I'm having a heck of a lot of fun with this. To recap for those who missed anything, Naruto in this universe is the son of a single mother who was the leader of a Power Rangers-like group known as the Toku Sentai Bijurangers. Kushina, however, in a moment of self-sacrifice, stayed behind while not only the rest of her team, but Kurama too, were sent away to hide from the enemy. Naruto was told by Yagura about the death of his mother and he took it hard. But in his moment of need, he had Kurama. From there, Yagura faced the ire of Hiruzen, who told him how important Kurama was to the village and could only be treated as a toy by a child. But Yagura disagreed, thinking Naruto could be a good Bijuranger if he so desired. Naruto and Gaara would both become Bijurangers, replacing Kushina and Bunpuku on the team respectively. They would train, where Fu would teach them that the greatest lesson for a Bijuranger to learn was how to trust in their tailed beast. The mutual trust between Beast and Jinchuriki would be what pulls them through. However, as they learned this lesson, the entire village came under assault by a Mollusk Monster, and the entire team, save Naruto and Gaara, were called up to stop this monster. However, as they left, they saw secret Zetsu about to attack the academy, with Sasuke alone fighting off the horde. The two showed up to aid him and managed to defeat the Zetsu. Together with the Sentai, Naruto and Gaara managed to defeat the Mollusk Monster, but despite this, the Akatsuki had a plan. Taking power from the Ten Tails, they planned to create their own Bijuranger to use for evil purposes, and they had set their sights on none other than Sasuke. Welcome to the Amagi. Before we begin, only 25% of our viewers are subscribed, so if you're a fan of the video, please like and double check if you are subscribed. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Naruto lay in bed in his mother's old room at the Bijuranger Command Center, located behind Hokage Rock. As he drooled a small river into the pillow, a small indentation from where his nose had previously been catching enough saliva to become a small lake of its own. Naruto had not planned to stay here. He had a home that he wished to return to, because that's where he lived with his parents. It was familiar. But after the battle, even though he hated to admit it, he was a little scared. His nerves were killing him and he didn't want to be alone, and so he decided to stay here. With Killer Bee on his left and Fu on his right, Gaara across the hall between Han and Yagura, Naruto felt safer here. More like a large family than anything else. He managed to get some good shut-eye, though not as much as he had wanted. The alarm went off at about 7:45 a.m. Naruto really didn't want to get up, but he had to admit with the current location he could sleep in a little later and not miss school. School tended not to start until after 8:30, so that gave him 45 minutes to clean up, prepare, and get some breakfast. Then all he had to do was literally jump from Hashirama's stony nose down into the courtyard. And once he was on the ground, he would just head into the building. No tardy here. Just more glorious, glorious sleep. But all the same, Naruto wasn't feeling well rested today. He was slumping through his shower, his breakfast. In fact, he'd put on his shirt backwards at least once. The second time, it was inside out. He was wiped. He could hardly even eat breakfast due to the nerves. Yagura told him it was something that he would get used to, that it was normal for a member of the Sentai to have stress from these sorts of situations, but that they were all here for him and that all he had to do was his best to persist. Yagura was proud of Naruto. Naruto was taking it better than most kids his age. Most kids at this point would shut down and not want to do anything but hide in their rooms, but Naruto was continuing with his daily life in spite of his stress and terror. Gaara, on the other hand, was a lot different. He got up fully rested, smelling like a desert oasis, his hair perfectly combed and shining like silk. "Good morning, everyone." "Good morning, Gaara," Yagura said as he took a sip from his coffee. "Where's everyone else?" Gaara asked. Yagura began to add some sugar to his coffee. "Most everyone's out doing rounds, checking up on citizens, you know, standard stuff. Fu's still in bed. Don't expect her up until about noon. I myself am planning to go out to the site of the battle and see if I can't find some clues as to the location of their base." Gaara shot him a thumbs up. He then sat down, grabbed 2 pieces of bread, slathered them with butter, and then popped them in the toaster. A few moments passed by before they both popped back up. He grabbed them and began to add jam. 1 piece of toast he kept for himself, and the other piece he gave to Shukaku, who was sitting on his shoulder. "You seem to be getting along really well with Shukaku," Naruto said. "Yeah, he's actually a really cool guy." Shukaku then spoke up. "I'm actually a really cool guy? There was doubt?" Gaara and Shukaku laughed. "So are you taking Shukaku with you to school today?" Naruto asked. Gaara nodded. Shukaku wanted to. Shukaku then spoke for himself a little. "I wanted to try out this academy. I've never been paired with an academy kid before. I want to see what it's like." Naruto thought about it. "I wonder if Kurama would like to go too." Yagura put his empty cup into the sink and began to clean it. I don't know, maybe you should go ask him. It'll be a good bonding moment for you. Naruto stood, walked over to the tailed beast pen, and used his key card to open it up. Walking in, he found Kurama lying halfway in a little house that lovingly had his name tacked over the entrance. Almost like a doghouse, but, well, actually it was exactly like a doghouse. But it went well with the aesthetics that one might think it was a playhouse. Naruto saw Kurama laying there, sprawled out on his back, drooling a river not unlike how Naruto did. He knelt down beside him and woke him up. Psst, Kurama. Kurama! Kurama opened his eyes. Is it another attack? Do I need to whoop some ass? Naruto shook his head. I'm going to the academy, and I was wondering if you'd like to come with me. Shukaku's going with Gaara. Kurama rubbed his eyes and then stretched out with a yawn. Why not? The little fox rolled over and climbed up onto Naruto's shoulder. Naruto turned around and began to walk out of the pen, letting Isobu and Chome sleep until Yagura needed him. The two of them would begin making their way toward the academy alongside Gaara. Not long after, Yagura would make his way to the Biju pen where he would wake Isobu and take him out to investigate. They made their way to the village square. There was still cleanup going on from the battle. Honestly, Yagura had no clue what to look for. What could the monster have left behind that would tell him where the Akatsuki's base of operations was? Likely nothing. But never say never. He began to look around. As Naruto and Gaara made it to class, the students were all circling around them, fawning over their tailed beasts. I want to play with the fox one of the little girls cried out. Another of the boys shouted, wow, the tanuki's made of sand! That's so cool! All in all, this wasn't the first time that Shukaku and Kurama had been the center of attention, but never around so many children. Kurama whispered into Naruto's ear, if someone grabs my tails, I can't be held responsible for my actions. Naruto's eyes widened. Okay, classmates. Kurama's feeling a little overwhelmed. Can we back off a little? To Naruto's surprise, the group actually did as ordered. Kurama raised a brow. Wow, they actually listened. I suppose old dogs will learn new tricks. Pigs will fly and the weather for hell is scheduled to be a snowstorm. Shukaku didn't seem to mind the attention. He was jumping from head to head playfully, daring the boys to catch him. It was obvious that the girls seemed to favor Kurama, and the boys seemed to love Shukaku. It only made sense though. Kushina had also chosen Kurama, and Shukaku had always been around men. Shukaku was quite flamboyant and prideful, much like a boy, and despite his rough and tough nature, Kurama deep down was very loving, kind, and sensitive. Naruto could see how that would attract girls. Not only was he cute, but emotionally vulnerable, which was just... Naruto wished he had even half the game Kurama had with girls. At about that time, Iruka showed up to the classroom. Alright class, take your seats. Roll call. The students all reluctantly sat down at their desks and awaited their name. When the names were called, they raised their hand. Gaara? Here, Gaara shouted, raising his hand. Iruka looked back down at the paper. Naruto? Here, Naruto shouted, raising his hand as well. Seems like a full house today. Sasuke? There was no answer. Sasuke? When yet again no answer arose, Iruka lifted his eyes up and searched around the room. Sasuke Uchiha! When he didn't find him, he asked the class, has anyone seen Sasuke today? Everyone in the class shook their heads. Iruka took a deep breath and sighed, marking off Sasuke's name. And here I thought we were finally gonna have a perfect attendance this year. Naruto looked around. Maybe he's not here because he's still recovering from when he was attacked. Iruka looked to Naruto. Sasuke was attacked? Gaara nodded. Before the Sentai showed up, Sasuke was doing all the defending. He got beat up pretty bad. Iruka showed some concern. Oh, then I guess that's okay. So long as he's not just playing hooky, it's fine, I suppose. Wish we'd received a note, but then again, I don't think that poor boy has anyone to deliver it for him. I'll need someone to volunteer to bring Sasuke his homework after class. Any takers? Naruto raised his hand. Iruka pointed in his direction. Thank you, Naruto. I'll put his papers with yours. Be sure to give them to him on your way home. Elsewhere, Yagura was still looking through the wreckage. As he expected, there was nothing definitive that could prove where the monster originated, which was a shame. This meant that the village was still in danger. It was at about this time that Isobu spoke up. I feel something. What is it? Yagura asked. I don't know. Something not good. It's coming from that alleyway there. Yagura looked over and saw an alley concealed in shadows, leading deeper into what almost became a black void. A miasma of dread, seemingly pouring from the alleyway with such strength that one could almost see it in the air. Seems like something we should check out. No, don't! Isobu shouted. I don't know what's going on, but something bad is in there. Yagura hadn't seen Isobu like this before. Are you okay? Isobu almost seemed to hide behind Yagura's shoulder. Don't make us go in there, please. I don't want to go in there. Yagura pat his head. It's okay, Sobi. I'm not gonna let anything bad happen to you. Besides, this is our job. Yagura began to step into the alleyway. It was dark, but the deeper he walked, the more visible the inner contents became. There was a dumpster against the wall and several trash cans lining it. At the end of the alley was a large wooden fence, and below it a massive pile of trash, big enough to hide a person. Yagura made his way over and began to examine the trash piled up at the base. Thankfully, there was nobody there. "See, Sobi, it was just paranoia." "It wasn't," Isobu shouted. "I sensed a dark chakra in here. It felt malevolent and deadly, like it wanted to make us die." Yagura pulled the beast into a hug. "There's no need to worry." Yagura looked around in the trash at his feet. "Maybe a piece of the beast fell around here. Maybe that's what you sensed?" Isobu shook his head. "No, it was a living chakra, not residual energy. It was nothing like the mollusk." Isobu was upset still, and Yagura was confused as to why. "Why are you shaking? We're safe." "Are you?" came a deep, heavily modulated voice. Yagura looked back to see a figure standing there in light shining from the entrance. The light playing behind them, all Yagura could see was shadows at the moment. But as it drew closer, he realized it was wearing a black cloak and what appeared to be an Anbu mask painted up like a monkey. Around his neck was a necklace with a charm depicting a red Akatsuki cloud. "Who are you?" Yagura asked. He received no response. Isobu spoke to Yagura. "I don't know who he is, but the source of the bad chakra I felt, it's him." Yagura looked up from Isobu back to this person. "Who are you? State your business." Yagura placed Isobu on his shoulder. "Get ready. I feel like this is going to become a fight." Yagura stood there, ready to go. The figure also stood, then looked at his gloved fingers for a moment. "My business? I think you are my business." A dark purple chakra covered his fingers as he rushed forward, a chakra cloak forming around him. On all fours, he ran up the wall, jumped from the wall onto the dumpster before launching himself through the air to strike Yagura. Yagura dodged backward. He activated his version 1 cloak as he fought against this new individual. The assailant would cross his arms together and would release a slash in the air so powerful that a wave of chakra in the shape of an X would form. Yagura would jump up into the air and land behind the attacker, but to his surprise, the attacker's chakra had formed a tail. But not just any tail. A tail with a mouth and teeth, like a snake. The tail lashed out and bit into Yagura's knee. He cried out. "Yagi!" Isobu cried out. Yagura stumbled back. Already his leg was going numb. "A poison agent! Try and get it out, Sobi! Version 2! Suddenly, the entirety of Yagura's body was covered in a thick red shell of crimson chakra. Doing this gave Isobu more control over his body and full power. This would also allow Isobu to begin healing the wound on his leg. Yagura would see the individual turn around. Suddenly, the person before him also took on a version 2 cloak. They hunched over and came down on all fours with a growl, a violet chakra shell covering their entire body. "Impossible! We have another tailed beast?" Yagura asked. "I don't think it's a tailed beast," Isobu said. "It looks like a yokai, a creature formed of chakra. Not too dissimilar from a tailed beast, except it wasn't created by the Sage of Six Paths." "Well, whatever it is, it's strong," Yagura said. The creature lunged at them again, slicing through the air. Yagura, certain that it was a true threat, and aligned with the Akatsuki, began attacking back, but his strikes were countered by the assailant quite easily. It pushed him back. It kept its distance for a moment. "Watch out," Isobu said. "I don't know what it's doing, but it's building Ah!" Suddenly, the creature's eye turned blood red as black flames suddenly appeared in the air, landing on Yagura. Yagura cried out in agony, his voice being followed by Isobu in a cacophonic choir of misery. The flame burned over the entire chakra shroud, heat passing through into the body below. I'm burning, he shouted. Yagura hit the ground and began to roll back and forth, attempting to put out the flame. But as the fire burned, his chakra gave out. And suddenly, Yagura was left there, steaming, burned, and unconscious. Laying on his back, not in much better condition than his master, was Isobu. As both lay there, the assailant would return to base form and walk over. He would grab the beast off of Yagura's back. I've secured the target. Returning to base. Suddenly, the enemy would disappear in a swirling portal, only to stand before Obito with the beast. I've acquired the three tails and neutralized the Bijou Sentai's leader. Obito would smile. Good work, my dark Bijuranger. Maybe you're worth more than I thought. Naruto and Gaara were in the middle of history class. With the fall of Madara Uchiha, the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju took the Nine Tails and sealed it into his wife, Mito, who would become known as the founding Sentai Bijuranger. With her help, Hashirama Senju would go on to capture the rest of the tailed beasts and form a unique task force that at the start was known as Beast Squad, but later became known as the Toku Sentai Bijurangers, or the Bijou Sentai. As the world continued to spiral toward inevitable war, Tobirama Senju informed his brother that the tailed beasts would not be able to fix the issues each nation had between the other, and would instead result in emboldened leaders who would flaunt their powers on nations without beasts. It was his belief that each village should be policed by Konoha, ensuring that the peace is kept through the heroic actions of the Bijou Sentai. But with the end of the Third Shinobi World War 10 years ago, Hiruzen Sarutobi announced that any village who offers up a member to the Bijou Sentai will have their say in its usage in all times except war times, in which Konoha's supreme emergency powers would ensure that the Bijou Sentai remain in the service of good. This began the foreign exchange program that saw the inclusion of various shinobi such as Yagura and Urakata from the Hidden Mist, Han and Roshi from the Hidden Stone, Yugito Ni and Killer Bee from the Hidden Cloud, Fu from the Hidden Waterfall, as well as Bunpaku from the Hidden Sand. These became an international fighting force under the control of Konoha, though a petition has recently been made by Rasa of the Sand that the Bijurangers should become an independent organization under a special council, apart from all villages and nations, to ensure that corruption that could easily appear in Konoha doesn't destroy the general good of the Bijuranger Corps. At about that time, Sasuke Uchiha walked into the room. Irika looked over. "Tardy boy, Sasuke Uchiha, tardy boy." Sasuke stood there for a moment. "Sorry, Irika-sensei, I must have overslept." Irika waved it off. "The class told me what you did against the Zetsu. As far as I'm concerned, you should get the rest of the week off, but since you're here, you should probably take your seat." Sasuke nodded and began to make his way to his desk in the back. He sat down. The class continued. Gaara would elbow Naruto to get his attention. Naruto looked around Gaara at Sasuke, who seemed like he wanted to go back to sleep. Bags had formed under his eyes, dark circles, and he seemed pale as a ghost, yet his skin glistened with sweat. His clothes seemed a little disheveled, and a semi-sweet and sour smell came off of him that seemed to insinuate that he missed his shower today. But what topped the cake was that his shirt seemed to be inside out, as only the stitched outline of the Uchiha clan symbol could have been seen. "He looks horrible. Do you think he's okay?" Naruto asked with a hint of concern. Gaara shook his head with a slight raising of his shoulders as to say he didn't know. "Naruto, Gaara," Irika called. Naruto and Gaara looked down the steps towards him. "Yes, sensei?" they asked in unison. Irika then spoke. "My lesson's down here, boys. Try and pay attention. Today it's about your forebearers, so you'd best take interest." The two boys bowed their heads in supplication. "Yes, sensei. Sorry, sensei." They continued to watch the lesson, but their minds couldn't get off of Sasuke. As class ended, the bell rang, which meant that they had about 15 minutes to get ready for their next class. Naruto nodded at Gaara to ask him to step to the side for him. Gaara got off his seat on the shared bench that was common between the shared desks that lined the room. Sasuke was still sitting there. He looked almost like he'd fallen asleep. Naruto scooted to the edge of his seat. He opened his backpack, pulling out a stack of papers that had been clipped together. "These are for you, Sasuke. It's your homework for the day. Irika had it prepared for you." He handed it over. Sasuke's eyes slowly opened. He then looked in Naruto's direction for a moment. "Thanks." He reached out and took it, and as he did, he just sat there. Naruto cocked his head with a concerned look upon his face. "Sasuke, are you okay?" Sasuke looked up at him. "I'm fine." Suddenly his eyes rolled up in his head as he fell forward and proceeded to roll down the stairs until he hit the bottom. Irika turned around in shock to see this. "Sasuke!" He knelt down to check on him. He then looked up. "Get the headmaster. Tell him to call the hospital." One of the kids ran off. Naruto watched as Sasuke was carted off. Due to this shocking turn of events, class was cancelled for the rest of the day. Naruto and Gaara began to make their way back toward the HQ. As they opened the door, they called out, "We're home!" They stepped through and looked around. "Guys?" They checked the base. Nobody was around. Fu had seemingly woken up and was already gone. Naruto wondered what it could be. "Well, I'm gonna get a sandwich. You want something, Gaara?" Gaara looked back. "Just make me whatever you're eating. And don't forget to make something for Shu." "You got it." Naruto went about making 2 full sandwiches. He added the bologna, the pepperoni, the ham, the turkey, the cheeses, the mustard and mayonnaise, and the tangy barbecue sauce. Needless to say, Naruto was feeling better. He felt bad for Sasuke, but it did help him take his mind off his own troubles, and somehow made his nerves less tangled up. That being said, he was craving the world's messiest sandwich. He cut them in half and grabbed 2 juice boxes and brought them to the couch where Gaara was watching Sponge Shinobi Square Shuriken. Gaara looked at his sandwich. "What do you call this abomination of deli meats?" "Oh, that?" Naruto said. "I call it the Buddha, because it's one with everything. Well, everything that's in the fridge, at least." He passed half of the sandwich to Kurama, and Gaara gave half of his to Shukaku. As they ate, Naruto changed the channel to Konoha Afternoon News to see what all was going on. They didn't even get a bite of their sandwich taken before they heard the story. What? They turned up the volume. The anchor was standing in the village square, reporting. News broke about an hour ago that a longtime member and current head of the Toku Sentai Bijurangers, Yagura Karatachi, has been assaulted. He was found by the cleanup crew in an alleyway at about 10:30 a.m. fire time. He was moved to Konoha General Intensive Care's burn unit. The location of the beloved Three Tails, Isobu, is as of yet unknown. Back to you, Chaz. Naruto stood from his seat. Mr. Yagura was attacked while we were at school? Gaara turned off the TV. Do you think the others know? Gaara helped him up. There's no way they don't. Come on. Naruto raced to the door. Gaara looked back. Wait, where are you going? Naruto turned around. To Konoha General, where else? Gaara stumbled to get around the couch. Wait for me. The two of them ran out the door and down the side of the cliff face. Once they touched ground, they booked it to Konoha General. As soon as they passed through the automatic sliding doors, they raced to the front desk. Yagura Karatachi, please, Naruto begged. The nurse, noticing the bijou on their shoulders, knew they must be the new recruits. Down the hall, room 108. Naruto and Gaara rushed down the hall, trying not to run even though they wanted to, for fear that the boost of speed might accidentally cause a collision with one of the many doctors roaming the ward. As they came to the door, they saw Anbu standing there like two pillars, immovable like statues guarding a precious treasure from the winds of time. Gaara stopped only for a moment to look at the Anbu before he was pulled inside by Naruto. They saw the other 6 Bijurangers, each standing about Yagura. Naruto and Gaara came to the foot of the bed and saw Yagura laying there, his body covered in burns, a tube shoved down his throat, helping him breathe. There was an appalling look to him. What happened to him? He was attacked, Utakata said. When I get my hands on the bastard that's done this, I swear on my mother's grave that they're gonna wish they'd never been born, Roshi cried out in rage. Han put his hand out to calm him. Did anyone see the attacker? Gaara asked. Only Yagura saw him, said Fu. But before he fell into a coma, he did mention something. He said false bijou, purple chakra cloak, and monkey mask. Naruto looked down at him. Please, Mr. Yagura, I already lost Bunpuku and my mother. I can't lose you, too. Gaara then looked up at the others. The news said that Isobu is nowhere to be found. Do any of you know where he is? Yugito shook her head. Absolutely no clue, I'm sorry to say. Likely taken by the one responsible for this. He's probably with the Akatsuki now. If Yagura knew, he'd have a cow, you fool, Killer Bee said. Poor Sobi, Fu said as she looked like she was a half step from crying. He was the most sensitive of all the beasts. I bet he's scared right now. The mood in the room fell lower, as if it could get much lower than it already was. Naruto and Gaara looked to each other and then to the others. Hardly able to keep it together, Naruto and Gaara then left the room. As they did, Gaara spoke. It's the same group that killed your mom and Bunpuku. Naruto nodded. I don't know who they are, but when I find them, I'm gonna slaughter them. To that we can agree, said the voice of Kurama. Naruto looked over and saw Sasuke standing by the front desk, signing something for the nurse. Naruto pat Gaara's shoulder. I'll catch up with you. He then ran over to Sasuke. Sasuke, I'm glad to see they're letting you go. I hope everything's okay. Sasuke looked to Naruto. He still looked like he felt crappy, but at least seemed to have a little more pep in his step. Doctor said I'm just dehydrated. They told me I need to drink more water, but I generally puke if I drink too much water. The chlorine taste really gets to me. You should get yourself some of those flavor packets. Something to make it taste like lemonade or fruit punch. Sasuke handed the clipboard back to the nurse. He began to walk around him. Naruto watched him pass by. Will I see you in class tomorrow? Sasuke thought about it. Probably. I'll just drink more water tonight. I should feel better by tomorrow. Naruto smiled as Sasuke exited the hospital. As Naruto slowly made his way back to the room, he remembered something. Wait, I still have Sasuke's homework. He opened up his backpack and found the papers with Sasuke's name on them. I had to take it back before they hauled him off to the hospital. I should give it to him. Naruto then made his way to the door and passed through. He looked around. He didn't see Sasuke anywhere. I don't see him, Kurama said. He must have gone home. Naruto then began to make his way in the direction of Sasuke's apartment. He walked through crowds and past shops until he reached the apartment district. There were many apartments here, but one of the best ones was the Gunbai Acres, where Hiruzen had set up Sasuke's living area. To be honest, it was a wonderful apartment building, even better than the one where Naruto had lived with his mother. To be frank, he was even a little jealous, but he was also happy that Sasuke was living well, especially after the destruction of his clan. Naruto would walk into the apartment building and take the stairs to the upper floor where he found Sasuke's door. He knocked on it twice. Sasuke, he called out. There was no answer. Sasuke, I brought your homework. Still, there was no answer. He went to knock again when he heard a vase shatter and a grunt of what sounded like agony. Sasuke! Sasuke, are you okay? Open up! There was nothing but a pained cry from within. Naruto grabbed the handle and twisted. He felt that it wasn't locked. "Sasuke, if you can hear me, I'm coming inside." He twisted the handle and pushed it open. What he saw there shocked him. Sasuke was on his knees, gripping his head. On his back was what looked like a strange tattoo. It began to glow as purple chakra growled around him. "Sasuke!" Sasuke looked back, a purple chakra cloak forming around him. His eyes began to glow as Mangekyo Sharingan. Looking at Naruto, he spoke. "Run." And that's where I plan to stop it for today. Hope you enjoyed it. When I was really young, I'm talking like 6 years old, I remember Power Rangers Dino Thunder coming on ABC Family. I was obsessed with it, but as I grew up, I eventually found myself falling in love with anime. So it's a great pleasure to be able to blend both the Super Sentai themes with the world of Naruto. And if you liked it as much as I did, be sure to like the video and tell us about it below. Share your favorite Naruto characters, as well as anything that you used to love about Power Rangers and Super Sentai. For me, there will never be another evil ranger quite like the Dino Thunder White Ranger. Sasuke's character in this story was inspired by him, but by far the most legendary ranger will always be Tommy Oliver. Rest in power, Jason Frank. If you've yet to subscribe, be sure to do so. After all, it's the only way you can ring the bell. And if you want to see the next part of the story, you'll want to be notified now, won't you? Anyway, until next time, may the power protect you, believe it, and peace out.